Welcome back to the Off the Record podcast. We're here with Andre Phillips, the principal of Stagg High School and a Olympic gold medalist from the 1980s. And that is my first question. What is a harder thing to do as a human being? Win an Olympic gold medal or be principal of a large high school?
Whoa.
Or can you compare the two? Probably
I don't even know if you can compare the two, but one was an individual feat. Obviously being in the Olympics, but I think because I have control over me and what I do, so it's really difficult because you have control. You have to have control over 1,700 students and a staff of about 150, 160. So I would probably, it's hard to compare. They're both difficult, so I don't know,
Yeah. One of my favorite parts about sports is finding out who inspired someone when they were on their way up, and whether it be an mentor or just someone who was a rival. If you could kind of talk about Edwin Moses' role in your career as a track and field athlete.
Well, actually, I'll talk about him, but the first person that inspired me was actually Lee Evans, who was a gold medalist in the 1968 Olympics in the 400 and the 4x4 relay, and actually he was the world record holder in both of those events for I think 19 years in one and 21 or 22 years in the other. And the reason he was my first inspiration was that my high school coach was his high school coach, and so that's how we heard about him. So, and talking about Edwin Moses, when I was a junior in high school, I had just started running hurdles maybe a year prior, my sophomore year, and I watched the 1976 Olympics and I saw Edwin win, and so from that moment on, I had this fixation of wanting to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
So.
When you're in the routine of being an athlete, you have to focus so much on the minutia of what you eat, how you train, that kind of thing, that it's probably not easy to kind of stop and look around. Back in, I think it was 2009, you got inducted into the Track and Field Hall of Fame. Was that a moment when you finally kind of got to look back and appreciate everything that had gone on in your career?
Yeah, because I think in that moment they take the totality of your career and what you've done, and so you're right. I had time to reflect on my entire career, and I was very proud in fact that not just the Olympic gold medal, but most of my career I was either ranked number 1 or 2 in the world in the 400 hurdles. And so, to me that was just a testament of, making sure you put in the work, the hard work, and that you stay on top or try to stay on top as much as possible. So
yeah, Stockton's a pretty big city, but a surprisingly small town kind of feel sometimes. I mean, you see certain last names of people who have been here forever. You're from Milwaukee. How did you end up coming out to California and then I guess Stockton specifically eventually?
Moved out here when I was about 4, almost 5 years old, from Milwaukee. My mom's sister, my aunt, lived out here, and I guess my mom wanted to change, and so packed us all up, and we all got on the train in those days because there's 9 kids. Well, at the time there were 7 of us, and we all moved out to California, and we ended up actually moving right across to San Jose. We moved to San Jose, California, and we moved right across the street from Overfeld High School, where I was 4, I guess, yeah. And Lee Evans was a senior in high school at that very same school. I mean, like, we're talking right across the street. And his coach, 10 years later, or 11 years later, would be my coach.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
insane
that happened. And he was my coach at a different high school. So
yeah.
So that's how we sort of migrated to California.
What appealed to you about teaching and then academic administration?
Well, I always knew once I finished my track and field career that I was going to work with kids. I didn't know how. Initially, I thought I was going to be in the coaching field at either a university or what have you. But then I started substituting here in Stockton, substitute teaching, and just sort of like being around kids and making a difference, because the same thing happened for me in high school. We had, there were some teachers, my high school principal, 3 liaisons, campus liaisons that were mentors to me. So it sort of fell in line, in terms of administration. I was it wasn't something I wanted to do, but it was sort of pushed me, a couple of people pushed me in that direction. So just sort of went from there.
How has the sport of track and field changed since you were involved in it directly? And I know this is limited cases, but have the cases of doping here and there, whether it be throughout the Russian team or occasion with the U.S. team, is that something that's sad for you to see as a sport that you love?
I think that doping has been around since forever.
Yeah.
And they've tried multiple ways to ban certain things. And when I first started and they were doing sort of out of competition drug testing, they gave you ingredients and not brand names. So, for instance, they would say Fina, what is it in Thailand? Not in Tylenol, but in Sudafed, Sudafedrin, or right? They would say Sudafedrin or but they didn't say, hey, don't take Sudafed, don't take cyanide, don't take any of these other things. So I think the difference today is that they actually give you brand names and actual chemical compounds that you have to stay away from. Because at that time, I believe, even for some of the females, they had to stay away with some of the birth control or the asthma medicines or what have you. But it just seems like every time they come up with a test for something else crops up, and so I don't know if they'll ever eradicate that, but I think they're at least the technology is there where you can find out more about. I guess they do the urine samples, so I don't know. It is sad, but I think that's what has happened over the years, and I think initially it was with the East Germans and the Russians, and I would say in the 70s and 80s, and then I think more Americans were probably going, hey, they're doing it,
level playing field.
Level playing field, and then they sort of came up with some testing procedures that cleared up most of it or a lot of it, especially when Marion Jones and that whole thing with Balco and whatever came about. And now it seems like it's starting to crop up again in different countries now. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
How hard is it especially when you're younger and you're just trying to get into that elite class? I'm sure, people take that hardline approach of how could you ever, but when you think about it, like you think about baseball players, some of whom fighting for a roster spot, a lot of whom come from impoverished countries, it's understandable why they try it. You can be a moralist, but you can also look at it realistically. For you, is it ever tough when you think, hey, this person, I know it wasn't so much for the U.S. yet, but this person might take my spot?
Absolutely. And you think about it often because, when you don't make a team or every year you're battling injuries and you kind of wonder why other people are not getting injured or running fast and never getting injured and what have you. So it crops up, but, in the end, you have to live with yourself. And so I take solace in that, I did it the right way. I tried very hard and just left it at that,
Yeah. So. Have you ever helped out or spoken to at all Stagg's team, or are you so busy and you want to keep your distance that you haven't even gone there?
I am really busy. I go out there occasionally and might help out with a little bit if they want the advice. But what's really weird about this is that I've been around this district or been in Stockton in this area since 89, I think, or 90 or something like that. And I've always offered and said, hey, I'll come out on a Saturday if you want to come in my office and sit and talk workouts. And I've always put that out there. And over the years, I may have gotten 2 people to come or ask for help. So it's really, it's a conundrum. I don't understand it, but I don't, so I don't know why a lot of coaches wouldn't want the help. For free. I mean,
no extra stipend in this.
And if I don't know it, then I can call some people that do. Like, I've called, like Carl Lewis or Willie Banks or, Al Joy, whoever. And said, hey, I have a jumper here. They'd like to talk to you about workouts and put them on the phone. So I don't get out there as often as I'd like, but because I'm so busy.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned busy. You're sitting here. You got your phone in your pocket. You got a walkie-talkie, an ID, a lanyard. I think you got a pen there too, and some keys,
and a whistle,
and a whistle. So obviously, you're not just doing political events.
No.
And I know because of your job, you get to meet a lot of good people, a lot of rewarding things. But there's a tougher side too. I was thinking driving over here that the first 2 times I met you were not in the best of circumstances. It was with the Stagg Lincoln football stuff and the player suspension the first year.
Oh, yes.
And the hysteria at the game the second year. Did someone have a weapon? Did someone have a stick? We don't know.
Yes.
In those moments when everyone's going insane and people are flooding away, and now it's a rare thing. What does a principal have to do? Like, what's going through your mind at that point?
Well, the first thing you have to do is really stay level-headed and stay calm. And I actually learned that through sport. You run the 400 hurdles, things happen. In 1985, I know I'm telling my age here, but I was in Australia for the World Cup. I clobbered the first hurdle. Almost fell, got behind. And so you learn then not to panic and just continue to take. Let me turn this on.
You can take that at some point.
Continue. Here, this is forward. Here. Forward. Answer it. So you try to take each hurdle as a separate race because I didn't want to panic. Yeah. I ended up winning the race. I was behind. Ended up winning the race, but I didn't want to panic because if you panic, you're going to tighten up. So same thing with situations like the kids that went to Lincoln, and you had to deal with them. And believe it or not, for about a week I had to deal with their parents, or 2 weeks, because I'm
surprised it's not longer, honestly.
Dealing with all of that, and the same when we had the incident out there.
Yeah.
I think we had another incident where we actually had to have sort of a soft lockdown where we had to get everybody inside the gate because somebody robbed somebody and ran through the parking lot, and they were bringing the dogs and while the game was going on, they're checking the entire school, for this guy who just robbed somebody at gunpoint. So but you try to stay calm, because I think if they see you panic, then they panic. So.
Social media was not a thing in the 1980s. It's half of how I can do my work during the day, but I'm sure there's just got to be a hassle part when you're an academic administrator. How has social media changed? I don't even want to say just track and field, just sports in general, and the roles of maybe your coaches more, but also yours as well.
Well, one of the things that media does is it makes you relevant. You know what I mean? We didn't have Twitter and Facebook. So, I can imagine myself at a meet or, going through the finish line and then taking a selfie, getting your phone and taking a selfie. You got instant, whatever, instant, you can get instant feedback, instant information out there.
Yeah.
It also could be a hindrance though, as well. So, but I think it's good for sport. The Twitter, the Facebook, the Snapchat, and all of that. Not so good for high school, or not so good for education in terms of the bullying, the online bullying.
Yeah,
it happens a lot. It's pretty bad. So.
Yeah. That's I don't think 15-year-olds, and me included, understand the gravity of pressing send. I really don't think they do.
Yes. Or you get a lot of, unfortunately, you get a lot of, young students that would send inappropriate pictures back and forth, males and females, and they don't realize once you push send, or once that photo is out there, or once those words are out there, they stay. Yeah. So.
I was a little, not surprised, but it's always what about different influences. Part of the reason you were happy to go to UCLA was Kareem, someone you loved when you were a kid. What are your memories when you were a kid? I remember. Well, or I guess Lou Alcindor played.
It was Lou Alcindor at the time.
Yeah.
Dating myself again. No, I actually watched him play on TV, NC2As, and just the manner in which he went about, destroying people, and that wasn't it, but it was that UCLA uniform. That was my first probably experience of actually watching a college team on TV. Back in those days we only had 3 channels, so so when you got to see something like that, and it was like, wow, UCLA, I want to go to UCLA. I didn't know how, I didn't know what fashion I was going to get there, and but I wanted to go UCLA. So when the opportunity arose for scholarships, and I think it boiled down to UCLA, USC, and at the time I think it was University of Washington. Of course, I chose UCLA.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was.
That's rare.
It was the most awesome experience I've ever had. I still rave about it. I don't think I had a bad experience there. It was a great campus. I love the fact that geography-wise, you can drive 20 minutes in any direction and hit a whole new type of people. I can get to the valley. I can go to the beach. I can go, into the hood, as they say, or I can go to Hollywood. Yeah. So it was an awesome experience. Great teammates, great faculty. It was just great.
Yeah. So, something I'd like to do at the end of these is just kind of like a lightning round. It doesn't mean you have to speak fast, but just kind of quicker questions. Since you've been here, who is the best, or I guess most incredible Stagg athlete you've seen in your time since you've been either a teacher or administrator here?
Oh man, I would say probably the most athletic that I've seen here is probably Cottrell Haywood.
Wow. You're not just saying that because he's current?
No.
He's up there.
No. He's probably talent-wise or athleticism. And he's not a big kid. But he's got some big hands, and, he plays, basketball. He's out for the track team now.
I was going to say, is he doing track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's out there now. So I would say him. I'm trying to think. And there was also Juma.
Yusuf Juma?
Yeah.
When you were at Franklin? Was he Franklin?
No, Juma. We had somebody here named Juma. It was back in
I've only been here for 2 years. I'm not sure.
1 or 2000, somewhere back, way in the back.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he was a great athlete as well. But I would have to say right now, I would have to say Cottrell.
Yeah. Who's the biggest inspiration for you just as a person? Would it be Evans, Moses, or Alcindor Abdul-Jabbar, however you want to say it?
Ooh. I think the one that that's kind of... Can I say all three?
Yeah,
no,
you can.
But really it was... Well, you know what? I would say the person that maybe wanted me to really run was Lee Evans, but I would say the one who affected probably my career would be Edwin Moses.
Yeah.
Because he was the epitome of 400 hurdles. He was the standard, the gold standard. So, in order to be successful, you had to go after him. Yeah. And if he had not been out there, I would have had no goal or no person to go after. So, Edwin Moses.
What's the best sports movie you've ever seen?
The best
sports movie.
Oh gosh.
Usually I picked a specific sport, but I feel like there's not that many that are
there are not a lot with track and field, but there are a lot, just period.
Right.
And I love them all, especially sports movie. Oh man. Oh, there's just I'm thinking of all of them. There's the new one that came out with Race. Called Race.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I even like. I don't know if it's a sport movie, but I like Secretariat. And Seabiscuit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Too many to choose. How about the worst? That might be easier.
Here's the best. The best one was Chariots of Fire.
Okay.
That one was the best one. That to me was because it was the Olympics. It was. And it didn't just show the Olympics, but it showed the human side of the individuals. And it won some awards, too. The worst sports movie.
The last, just to give you some inspiration, the last worst sports one I got was what's it called? Like Mike with Little Bow Wow from 15 years ago.
I couldn't even...
That was basketball specific.
I couldn't even bring myself to watch that.
See, I was like 11 when it came out, so I loved it, but I can see that now.
I couldn't even bring myself to watch that one. I don't know the worst sports movie. I don't know.
They're all good, huh?
No, I have to think about it because they're good.
Yeah. What is your most trying moment or frustrating moment been as a principal?
Oh man, I would say couple of things. One would be with the demographics of students that we have and where a lot of our kids come from, the neighborhoods that they come from, that we exhibit as educators more empathy, for where these kids come from, and be able to, when these kids come with negative attitudes or what have you, or have a bad behavior moment, when they come back the next day, whether we had to suspend or do whatever, whether you're a teacher and you had to write a referral or what, being able to just etch a sketch, I call it etch a sketch, be able to just, when that kid comes back, start over. Because if you hold it against that kid, kid knows it. They know you don't like them. And even if they had a bad moment, and they know they had a bad moment, it might be difficult for them to apologize to you, but as an adult and as the professional, you got to learn how to just shake it off. And I learned that through sport too. When I would have a bad workout, I used to leave the track with a negative attitude, and it would affect everybody around me. Mm-hmm. But then guess what? I come back the next day, I still have that lingering effects from that workout from yesterday. And what happens? You have another bad workout. So I learned that once I left the arena, done. So that's what I would say, is just have more empathy and be able to shake it off and let it go. And just understand where these kids come from. Don't let them off the hook. Still push them, but understand at least where they come from.
Any specific moments that have been the most rewarding thing you've accomplished or that you've been a part of?
I think any time that our test scores go up, I think any time, for me it's more personal when kids come up to you and they show you their grades on their phone, because social media, they're able to go, look, my grades have come up. And this was a kid maybe a year ago that I would have thought would have never graduated, but yet they turned it around. So that, I think it's those small moments, those individual moments, are probably the most rewarding.
Yeah. One word to describe President Trump.
My word I use all the time.
This gets the longest pause usually.
Because I want to make sure.
Gosh works.
Gosh works, but there's so many words. It's just for me it has nothing to do with your political affinity, whatever. It doesn't matter to me whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whatever. But let's see, I would say divisive. Mm-hmm. I have a few others, but divisive works.
Yeah. Which local or in the area track and field coach you think does a great job and maybe doesn't get enough respect, whether it be from us or just people in the track and field community? Someone who really...
In this area?
Yeah.
I would say Mike Lewis at St. Mary's.
Yeah. He's got a good personality.
He's good. He's good, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's one of the ones that will always call me and pick my brain. Not that you have to pick my brain, but, I get things from him as well. I mean, he does some things, and he loves the sport. He loves his kids, and I don't think he gets enough credit around here, but he's good.
What's your fastest quarter mile time right now?
Ah!
You put on A6 and go do it.
Oh,
minute 10?
Oh, easily, I think a minute 10.
Yeah.
I could do a minute 10 easy. Yeah. I can do 70 seconds in a quarter. Yeah.
A little bit of doubt there.
She might have the doubt, but no, I don't. 70 seconds in a quarter? Psh. Yeah.
All right, well, that's all I got for you. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
it's been a pleasure.